For me, it was a little bit hard to follow because I didn't know where you were going.
Okay.
If you told me some boundaries, it would have been easier.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. The second thing is another impactful way, this would borrow from your acting background, to start your presentation would be without telling people what you're going to do. And conventional wisdom is tell them what you're going to tell them,
Right.
tell them, and tell them what you told them. That's a training metaphor. That's not a motivational speaking metaphor. That's not people were looking for inspiration from you. They wanted to feel something. So you could just plant and tell a story.
Yes.
Start
okay,
with that
yeah.
and then do
Yeah,
something
that's
else.
fine. Yeah, that's great.
And also from stage, one of the things that you can do is kind of divide your teeny tiny dollhouse sized space up here into a few places. Like when I'm here, it's my key point. Oh yeah, let me tell you about the deep end. Here's the deep end, okay? And this is where I live with my family. Oh, another key point
That's
is
great,
right
yeah.
over here.
That's great.
That little 2 or 3 steps
Yeah,
that
that's
helps
great.
people
Yeah.
to do that. You gave some examples about when your house was sold, the people at church shunned you and stuff like that. Those were powerful. They would have been even more powerful if you had set context. What do you think I mean?
Explaining why that happened and what were the circumstances surrounding that happening?
Let's find out from our studio audience. Studio audience, how could those stories have been even more valuable to you? What else could have been told before, during, after, so that you kind of get it, instead of having to solve it like a mystery?
Sequence, maybe,
Sequence is one
of
way.
how everything happened.
Okay.
Specific example,
Yeah.
how were you shunned?
Okay, very, okay.
You said the church shunned you, but I don't know if you weren't
Right,
allowed to go to the
instead
fish
of
fry.
one time when I was walking
or-
down the street with my kids, the 2 elders crossed to the other side because they
Okay,
didn't want to
yeah.
walk on the
Yeah.
same side
That's
as
an
us.
Now,
example.
what would have happened there is you would have gotten deeper feeling, but you wouldn't have gotten, you would have gotten a personal understanding, but you wouldn't have understood the
The
point better.
context.
Yeah, the context. What
Okay,
would
yeah,
add to
right.
context?
Okay, so,
What would add to context? What do you guys think?
Well, I got a sense of why they shunned her was because the person she was married to, the in-laws were very influential in the church, and therefore she gets
Yes.
pushed to the side. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is the context.
One of the ways you can set context is to simply use the word you. And this presentation was
Okay.
filled with I and me.
Okay.
So to connect with them, to help them feel inspired and to teach more, because you've got to supply a lot more of the surrounding stuff. You can say, you know, when you're feeling blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and then tell the story.
okay. Oh, yeah, that's great.
That little clue kind of gets them
It
swimming.
it
it
opens
gets
the
them
door for
swimming
them to
with
come
you.
in with you, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. All right, that's cool.
Mike, a couple minutes, and then we're going to need to.
I only need 25 minutes.
This is
Right,
great stuff.
On the content again, I think the slides need to be, the resolution needs to
Yeah.
be
Yes,
super,
of
super,
course.
super high.
Yeah.
okay? Those were distracting. The last, okay, how many slides would it take for you to do your whole presentation? And I know we hadn't seen.
Maybe I could probably get it down to 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will you help her? Will you do it?
No, I can do
Oh, you
it.
can do it? All right.
I think I can do it, yeah.
But it wasn't a question of confidence, it was just about getting those extra
Yeah.
few. But I know you want it to be yours too.
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, and the last thing is, I encourage you to think about your coaching style. And I just spent a little time thinking about how you coached other people. And think about how you entertained or taught or helped or advised other people from acting. Because you've got a coaching style, and you've got an acting style, and now you've got to develop your speaking style. And I get the sense from you that some of that you want to be unique and different because now you're a different person and you're doing different things. You want to learn and you want to explore and stretch. But you also are wired as a coach, as an actress. So just think about that for yourself and see where that can take you, because you can borrow all that stuff and bring it forward with you. It's not baggage. It's like a strong
Right,
foundation. and support.
absolutely. Okay,
So you're
great,
ready. All
yeah.
right.
Thank you
Good.
so much.
Thank you.
Okay, who's got Mike's introduction?
I do.
You're up, Pete.
Wait,
Should I
Yes.
explain first?
Yes, explain.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that would be
Okay.
great.
So, for those of you here last Saturday, I did a presentation. I tried to do it without looking at my notes. And to be honest, I've been doing this presentation a couple times a week. I go to acting classes, and they let me do this. So
Aw.
I did it last night, and I made a million changes from one Saturday when you guys gave me all the feedback. So today, I'm more interested in getting the story right. Are you getting engaged from the story than my body language, how I talk, and that type of thing? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay? Because there's no way I was going to be able to memorize this thing. I made changes this morning.
Can I turn around while you speak?
Can you turn
Can I
around?
share my back with you while you speak? Because then
Sure.
I can really pay attention.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not turning my back.
I'll try to
Yeah.
hide behind something so you won't see my back. Okay?
Welcome. Today we have Mike Burke, speaker extraordinaire. During his 28-year career, Mike served in positions of frontline leadership in customer service, operations, sales management, and facility management. Later in his career, Mike was hand-selected by senior leadership to oversee the recovery of struggling business sectors, exceeding expectations and revitalizing profits with direct responsibility for $100 million businesses. Now Mike spends his time speaking and training the next generations of frontline leaders in today's competitive business environment. Please join me in welcoming Mike Burke.
So, I was a manager for 28 years.
Mike, what about your slides? What's happening there?
I'm going to hit them from here.
Great, oh, okay,
Yeah, I
great,
got a
sorry.
blank screen.
Cool, carry on. You want to
Right.
step back and come back again? Thank you, my apology.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Burke.
So I was a manager for 28 years, and during that time, I did a lot of research. And I found out one thing to be universally true. Want to know what it is?
Yes.
Being a manager is not always fun. I learned that when I was 28 years old. I was an operations manager of a small facility in Northeast Philadelphia. My career was in overdrive. I had a great mentor, and he sent me to frontline leadership training. Things like problem solving, conflict resolution, dealing with emotional behavior, that kind of thing. So did you ever learn something, used it, and it actually worked for you? Well, that's what training did for me. I loved all the skills they taught me, and I used them like a kid playing with his toys. And you know what? I got results. So much so that I earned a promotion to a larger facility 20 miles south. Now, I'm sure you've dealt with situations that really tested you. You know, the ones that they don't teach you about during the company orientation. Well, things were going great, and I was getting things done, and people were starting to buy in. Well, until I uncovered a $1 million theft ring that included my managers, supervisors, along with virtually all of our warehouse people. That's when things stopped being great. Now, it took about 6 months to get through all the terminations and suspensions. You can probably imagine the stress level. And I was seen as the root cause of everybody's stress. One night I was working the night shift, and when I was confronted by one of my warehouse people, this guy just came off suspension and it was his first day back. He walks right up to my face and says, "You're a rat." I gotta tell you, if I was a caveman, I would have hit him with my club. Now, this wasn't the first or the last time that people got in my face. I don't know, have you ever felt attacked? Well, by now my skills training was long forgotten. I was tired, I was mad, and I had enough. I said, no, don't think of me as a rat, think of me as a cop who caught a crook. When I go home, I can tell my wife and kids that I caught a crook. When you go home, you gotta tell your wife and kids that you are a crook. Now that felt great, until the next morning when I was in my boss's office. Well, he went over a grievance they put against me, and every word out of my mouth was put down on paper perfectly. And I admitted to it, I didn't deny a word. Now, I don't know if you ever felt like you weren't being supported after you made personal sacrifices, but in my mind, I had a right to react like this. I said to my boss, you know, I saved the company over $1 million, and you're going to let them abuse me? I'm the bad guy? What am I supposed to be, a punching bag? Now, I'm sure there have been times in your life that you felt cornered or betrayed. Well, that's how I felt. And the more they taunted me, the more I played right in their hand and reacted. That's when I learned a tough reality. You don't get rid of the team, you get rid of the manager. In the end, I was forced to move my family out of our home and take a lateral position with the company. So, want to know what happened next?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. For about 2 years, I was in the blame mode. I couldn't face the fact that I screwed up. Whoops. This must have automatic. I couldn't face the fact that I screwed up. Now, I admit, when I talk about this chapter of my life, I still get emotional. I mean, it affected everybody that I cared about and loved. My wife, my 4 daughters, and my mother, who felt that I took her 4 granddaughters away from her. So, do you want to know what I learned?
Yes.
Yeah. In an intense situation like this, there's always going to be plenty of blame to go around. Now, did my boss and the company do everything right? Absolutely not. But to be fair, who's got experience with dealing with a situation like this? It took a lot of wound licking that if I want to be valuable to my company and earn raises and promotions, that I have to take responsibility for my emotions and how I react under pressure. You want to know why?
Sure.
Because that's what I signed up for when I decided to be a manager. Now, this is what I went through. You're probably never going to have a situation exactly like this. But did you ever have similar feelings like anger, betrayal, maybe feeling cornered? How'd you react? Would you do something differently now that you had time to reflect? So, want to know what happened next?
Yes, Mike, what happened next?
Well, things weren't going great, and I tried everything to get my career back on track. It took me a couple years before I begrudgingly pulled out my old frontline leadership training books that I long abandoned. I didn't want to. I still wanted to blame. But for my family's sake, for my career, and for my own mental health, I eventually swallowed my pride. I started using them again and again, and slowly started getting small successes. And small successes build into larger successes. Now, God must have really wanted me to practice my skills because he gave me another extreme situation to deal with. Fast forward 2 decades and lots of mergers and acquisitions later, and I'm with the same company, but now I'm a division manager of a $120 million distribution facility in Boston. I oversaw everything: sales, customer service, and yeah, our union represented delivery drivers and warehouse people. Do you ever have a bad day at work? How about 40 of them? On October 2nd, 2012, union leadership decided they needed to go on strike, which is their right to do. Now, I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to drive through a picket line, but if you have or haven't, you want to see what it was like for us?
Sure, yeah.
This is your fault. You did that. You, Brian.
I was the center of attention. I was here we go. And then this guy, he loved dressing up. You can see he even took the time to put my birthmark on there in the picture. He dressed up like this for almost 40 days, and I had to pass him on the picket line. So, let's see. I gotta admit, it really peed me off. I mean, every day I had to go through that. And to be honest, it wasn't just me, it was my employees. Every day, my employees, women and men, were violently screamed at, just trying to get to work to provide for their families. And they were called the vilest names you can ever imagine. Now, does that seem fair? The situation got so bad that we needed 3 shifts of 8 police officers to protect us at the entrance of the driveway. Now, again, I felt myself upset and angry. Did you ever know what was the right thing to do, but you didn't know if you could handle it emotionally when you were dealing with a tough situation? Now, I gotta admit, I wanted to explode, but my field experience taught me that every word out of my mouth was going to be magnified. I started pulling out my motivational Tony Robbins, Wayne Dyer, anything that would help me find inspiration. And you know what? It must have worked because people always ask me how I stayed so positive. I'm thinking positive. They haven't seen me behind closed doors when they weren't looking. My hands were doing a lot of shaking. And I'll admit, it was brutal, but the strike finally ended 2 days short of 6 weeks. So, you want to know what happened when they came back? It was hard. I mean, I just had a couple hours before they walked in the door. There was just a couple hours before that. Before they walked in the back door, they were calling my employees and me every profane name you heard. And I had a choice to make. Now, I'm sure you've had to confront someone after you've had an emotional exchange with them. So after 40 days of fear, anger, and mistrust, I made sure I was the first one to the door welcoming each of the employees back. I got them together with our management team and said, ladies and gentlemen, the past is the past and we can't change what was said or done, but we can decide how we're going to move forward. You have my commitment that each of you are going to be treated with respect and dignity, and I expect and I demand that from each of you in return. Then I want each of them to shake their hand. You know, hopefully, you've never had somebody refuse to shake your hand, but a couple of them refused to shake mine. And I gotta admit, it peed me off. It was hard, but I bit my tongue. They saw I was angry and hurt, but I fought my emotions and I managed to keep my mouth shut. You know, there's still a few guys out there after 5 years that probably wouldn't shake my hand. But you know what I realized? That's their problem, not mine. Now, it's not likely that you're going to face the exact situation I faced. But has there ever been a time when people are upset with you for just making a decision they don't like as a manager? Do you ever get angry? Do they ever get angry with you for just doing your job? How'd you react when they confronted you? Would you say or do something differently if you had a chance? So, want to know what happened next?
Sure.
We had meeting after meeting, and I used the 5 skills that I'm about to share with you now. We used them hundreds of times. Within 6 months, instead of getting relocated like I did in Philly, we hit our company productivity goals for the first time ever. And a year after the strike, during Halloween, my wife and I were in Salem, Massachusetts. You know, that's a place where they have the Salem witch trials. This place is heaven if you're into Halloween. As we were walking down this cobblestone street, my wife and I heard this guy calling my name out. He was dressed in a caveman outfit. I walked over to him and talked to him for a minute. Then my wife snapped this photo. There we go. This photo of us. As we were walking away, my wife asked me, "Who was that guy?" I said, "You know him." She said, "No, I don't." I said, "Sure you do. Remember the guy on the picket line?"
This is your fault. You did that. You brought your fault.
That was him. And then I'm going to go into the 5 things. Okay? So let me have it.
Much better, Mike.
So let me have it. My goal is to just keep doing this and getting feedback and improving it, and then I'm going to memorize it. I took Jeff Justice's class, and you know, you don't memorize until you're ready to perform. Otherwise, your head's going to get all mumbo jumbo. Does that make sense? Okay.
So I want to
Okay,
I
yes.
want to be reminded, you don't want feedback on the delivery? You only want it on the
I'm not
story?
really concerned about the delivery right now. I really want to know the story. Did it make sense? Did it move you? What should I have done differently in the story? Yeah, because I'll practice this thing 1,000,000 times before I get up in front of anybody.
Okay.
Who's the audience for the speech?
The audience would be young managers and supervisors
That's awesome.
that are about to, you know, that just don't know how to handle it. You know, I went to college for management, but nobody told me what to do when that happened, you know?
And then how long would the 5 points go on after that? About the same amount of time? Or?
That's a good question. We talked about that on Saturday. This is going to be kind of my signature story, so it could go for 50, you know, that was what, about 8 minutes?
No, it actually was about 12.
No, it was 12.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's going to be things probably before that, there's going to be things after that. I would go into 5 points, and then if I was doing a keynote for 45 minutes, each of the 5 points I try to put a story in.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it.
So I'll start, give you some feedback. So part of it's hard for me because I wanted to isolate and not, you know, because I wanted you to connect more and eye contact and stuff, because it's a very powerful story. The thing I think I loved the most was the picket line, that audio, and then I love when you told the story, that really did, that's the most moved I felt when you said when it was over, and then you did the talk to the group.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it might be powerful to even shake people, like the front row, when you're talking, shake their hand, make eye contact with them, that would be really powerful. What I didn't like, and it's the tone or the delivery, is the want to know what happened next.
Okay.
That needs to be, I was trying to think, but I need to quiet my brain of what would be a better question.
Yeah.
But it was too light. It didn't match the content.
Okay.
Like, you'll never believe what happened next, or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. There's something.
Yeah, we
there.
talked about that on
Yeah,
Saturday.
and I think that for me, I was going to say, is not that, I think that it's good, I mean, to connect with the audience and engaging the audience by asking those rhetorical questions, but I don't know if it was my own personal impression or somebody else felt the same, but the more it says, and do you want to know what happens next? And then you go by and say, and do you know what happens next? That is a kind of a very repetitive, and I don't know if asking that same question, you are, the effect is drawing the audience in or isolating yourself from the audience. And the audience says, oh, okay, here we go again. What happens next? And so I really don't know.
To his point, you might want to say something like, and lower your voice, just, let me share with you what happened next.
Oh, that's.
Because we were interested, we wanted to
Keep
hear
that
what happened
right.
next, you don't have to ask
Then you're
us.
pulling us in.
It was the tone
yeah.
wasn't, yeah.
I
Agreed.
think you
And
did
also,
okay, but you overdid it. though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, it's okay to ask it at times, but not all the time.
Yep.
And using pauses, and that's where delivery really comes in, because when you drop something on us, we're gonna make that leap, because we wanna know what happens next. So sometimes pausing, and again, you're reading, you weren't presenting, but please insert some pauses in there to let us insert ourselves
Okay.
as well.
And I think also, and you may have said this, but I think you can't, what you said at the very end, when you sat down and you said how you're going, when Samantha asked who's your audience, which was a great question, I think that needs to be emphasized more. Like you gotta tell your story, but that got me more than anything in terms of the content, was that managers get taught to be managers, but they don't teach you that. And I think you have to keep bringing that, pieces of that in,
Agreed.
to really keep connecting the group.
Yeah, I said it once, what they don't teach you in orientation.
Right.
You're saying,
More,
Kinda
yeah, that,
hammer it
to
a
me,
little bit.
that should be the topic of your talk.
What they don't
That
teach
should be
you.
the point, what they don't teach you, here's the real life, more teaching, here's more story, you know,
yeah, what they don't teach you in
what
orientation.
they don't teach you, because that's, to me, that's why people are gonna come and listen
I like that.
to you speak, and
One
wanna
thing
hire
that
you
you
as a
teach you in
consultant.
management, so.
Yeah, Mike, I have to say, I liked your other speech so much better.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Okay.
In the sense of, it was direct to the point. You started with the strike slides, which I thought was, I mean, I was there. Oh my gosh, what? No, none of us have that experience. So we were very intrigued, so that was powerful. I would say, get us right from the jump, because these young managers, they don't want that. Little babies with a Similac, they'll be like, oh, strike. Okay, so that'll pull everybody in.
Okay, let me just stop you, because if you remember on Saturday, not everybody, but they said, start with, it was confusing, I guess that was.
Yeah,
I like
but what you could do is, that could be a preface, and then you go into your story. I thought your story today was really long.
Yeah, no.
And I had a really hard time staying focused. When we were asking you on Saturday to give us more detail, we didn't need detail as far as blow by blow by blow by blow by blow, what happened. We were just trying to understand the temporal relationship between when you had an experience that you could have handled better, when you had the theft, and you didn't really handle it like you would have liked to have handled it, but then when the strike came around, you were determined, hey, I got this tool, I'm going to use it. Okay?
Yeah, you gave an example in that first speech on Saturday of the theft and how you handled it. I didn't hear that today.
Okay, I have to go back and look at it.
I think that one of the main differences that I noticed between Saturday's presentation and today is that, and as what you were saying, I think that you extended the story,
Yeah.
and then
I
it
tried to
was dragging a little bit. On Saturday, you told the story, you presented the slides, but then you went rather quickly to the 5 points.
Yes.
And then here,
Yeah.
it dragged a little bit more, so, yeah.
I felt like that I could at least chronologically
Yeah.
follow a timeline. Saturday, I felt like I was following the bouncing ball. I didn't
Yeah.
know where, what fit in where and how, but for whatever reason, I felt that a story, like I could connect the
Yeah.
dots. And maybe, I wrote yay. Flow much better, yay.
Yeah, and that's what I tried to do, because everybody was saying that they were confused about.
Well, I think too much detail. So
Yeah.
there's a happy medium between sketchy and overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed by all that.
Yeah.
So take out some of the stuff that doesn't, remember, what's the book that we had to read? The one with the pastor, Andy Stanley. Your point, to her point, right?
Okay.
Management, okay? This is how, what not to do and this is what to do. And so everything revolves around that. Whatever it doesn't fit, take it out. The story about your grandmother, you got moved and your mother couldn't deal with her grandkids. If it doesn't fit, slash it.
Get rid of it.
Slash it,
Yeah.
slash it.
Yeah.
Make your stories, the big story should be the strike, I think. The big story should be the strike. And maybe a little bit more about the, okay, that's my, just my opinion then.
Yeah.
It's my opinion, but I'm saying I got lost.
But I think, something to go back to Saturday, your takeaway on Saturday, what you were selling to us, or what we were to come away with was, this is some things you can do to help yourself so you don't react like I
With
did.
the 5 points.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would come in the beginning with that. I would have 2 stories. When I was 28, I broke up a multi-million-dollar theft ring. I was called a rat. You know, anybody been called a rat? How do you feel, right? Bring that emotion. And then talk about the strike and say, well, you know, here are some things that I did as an older person or a more experienced, seasoned person that I did do when I was 28, and you go into those points.
Yeah.
I like that. I would like to hear why I get that you bleeped the words out, because I think
yeah.
there's something wrong with the audio. I would really love for you to say, you're about to see what it looked like, and I bleeped to take out the explicatives,
Let me
right?
ask you something.
I would mention that picket line, and I had the same comment here. I'd mention the picket line and let them know that I'm gonna share with you what I encountered. It's a picket line. There's all kinds of crazy language. I beeped it out, so there's not a problem with your ears. Here, let me show you.
Yeah. Because when you hear how much beeping is going on, you're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, there was that
Every
much.
beep was a
Every
curse.
beep, yeah, cool.
These were guys from Philly, right?
The picket line was Boston.
Boston?
Same
Same
thing.
Yeah.
Almost the same.
Oh.
So can we
Yeah.
wrap it up from you guys so that
Good.
Mike has some time with
Yeah.
Mike?
No, but
Mike
I
and
think that
Mike.
one of the things that I'm getting, from the whole group, perhaps, is emphasize the important thing, and whatever is, cut off the
Get rid of
fluffy
it.
thing.
Yeah.
The fluffy thing that does not contribute to the main story, just cut it off, because it distracts the audience. And when the audience gets tired, then they're not following you anymore. And that's the
So I have some lines that I really liked. You can probably imagine, I like that. Have you ever felt attacked? I think that was really powerful. One thing, and I loved, and I guess this is kind of delivery, but you got really vulnerable when you said, I admit that I still get emotional about that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such an awesome
Yeah.
line, because
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
you're not trying to be this big bad person, especially who you're speaking to. I think that would be really good. And then one thing that might be the topic is being a manager versus being a leader, right? Because you kept saying manager, manager, manager. To me, it's about being a leader. And when you said, but that's what I signed up for when I agreed to be a manager. You could have said that when I agreed to be a leader.
I like that.
And that was like pins drop, right? So like that was like really powerful to me. And I just thought it was really moving. That end, I teared up a little bit, which I'm sure is like and I'm kind of like that. But so that was really great. I thought it was awesome. You made it seem like a struggle. It was hard, but I did it. And I thought it was fantastic. And I agree with everyone said. The beginning just a little bit shortened, but it has to be in there because you're relating to your audience, right? And then, but just like you said, a little bit of the fluff, and then, but I love how you told it though, because you need a little bit of those details to tell the story and go from, this is what I did at first when I was young like you, took all these classes, did all these things, studied it, and then, made a decision to be stronger. So that was really cool.
Yeah, just real quick, when you were asking questions like, have you ever been called a rat? I think you just leave the question. You don't say, I was angry, people are gonna come up with that emotion on their own. And so several times you talked about being angry and, feeling betrayed, and I think you can just leave it at a simple question and not go into, other people are gonna feel that way for you.
Okay.
The other thing, and I don't know if this would work, is if you can go back to some of the management classes and, I learned X, Y, and Z, okay? But this is what actually happened. So you can actually compare it to what they have recently learned.
Real world.
And say,
Well, that's
whoa,
interesting.
they said X, Y, Z, but actually, X, Y, Z doesn't really happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like what
That's right.
transition from the first story to the second story, what was that middle piece that you learned that they can now learn?
Yeah.
And that's what you're gonna teach them.
That's the teaching point.
Yeah, it's the transition.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
Mike for Mike.
Mike for Mike, very good. First of all, I'm
Are you gonna
really,
step up?
oh, I can if you like.
You
Mike and
already
Mike.
said that.
Well, I kind of like that because we're not hitting this side of the room.
Take note. But we got that on video.
Yes,
right?
Yes, it's
We're
on video,
videoing,
yeah.
yes.
So I like that.
So first, for everybody, Mike included, it's that the quality of the comments is absolutely amazing. It's really, really good. You guys you're really on point. And both speakers today took really good advantage of what I would call a safe space. This is a place to try stuff out. This is a place to screw up, not when you're in Vegas or Hollywood or New York City. All right, so I did something interesting with you. I turned around so that I could really, really focus on the story. But I couldn't separate the story from you.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, you still came through.
Oh, okay.
You've got tone of voice, you've got character, you've
Yeah.
got like stuff
Okay.
going on, you've got your cadence, your rhythm, your volume that you play with, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really hard to take out the delivery from the story.
Okay.
So my takeaway from everyone is, it's okay to try to separate those things, but your best evaluations are gonna come from when they're integrated, because one plays off the other. So it's really hard for me to just get the story.
If I tried to do that, I would have probably only got a third of it. I would have forgotten to say about a third of it if I didn't read it.
Okay, all right. No,
You
I'm
did it
not
naturally
disagreeing.
is what he's saying.
I'm not disagreeing. Yeah, all right. So point number, I have 5 points for you.
Okay.
If I can get the paper to work. One is